Okay guys, so hopefully you had a nice little break. So back to the lesson. Now, I left the example there. This was example number 2, by the way, because I wanted to just go over a couple of things. I took out the greatest common factor by determining what coefficient they shared. They didn't share any. Then I looked at each letter and I decided each term which a was the smallest. The a squared was the smallest, and I did that for each letter, and I ended up with a GCF of a squared x m squared. I then took that and I divided each term by my coefficient. So the same coefficient that I wrote here, I put under each term. And then I subtracted the a's, the x's, and the m's. And I did that for each term. When you subtract, whatever is left over goes inside of your parentheses. And the way you check it is you do the math. So you say a squared times a would be a to the third. X times x would be x squared. M squared would be m squared. So that checks. And you do that with each term. A squared times a squared x m squared would be a squared x m to the third. A squared x m to the third. That checks out. A squared a to the fourth x to the third m squared. A to the fourth x to the third m squared, and that is correct. Okay, so that is how you would do the check. Now you do not have to put this underneath in order to solve this. You can do this simply by subtracting the exponents. The way that I just illustrated is probably going to be the best way for you to do it for those of you who are struggling with this concept. But if you do not struggle with it, you can simply just solve it. Now I'll show you. The next one I have, this one's not as long actually. Let me see here. Yeah, it says A, this is going to be example 3, 4a to the third, b to the fourth, z to the third, plus 2a to the third, b, z to the fourth. Okay, now I'm going to start with my coefficient 4 and 2. The 2 is smaller than the 4, so my factor can't be bigger than this. So the greatest common factor is going to be 2. Okay, now I compare my a's. Okay, I'm going to plug in my computer. Give me just one moment. Okay, so here we go. I am going to go back. So I said the 2 was my GCF for my coefficients. Now I'm going to look at the letters. This is a to the third, and this term has a to the third. So that means they share 3 a's. Okay, b to the fourth, b. This only has 1. This has 4, so they only have 1 in common. So I can only write down 1b. The z's, they have 3 and 4. They share 3 z's. So that means my common factor is 2a to the third, b, z to the third. Now, I'm going to start by putting the parentheses. I'm going to go back and count my terms. This is a binomial, and it has a plus in the middle. So I'm going to put plus, and there's my lines. And then I'm going to fill in my terms by dividing. So I'm not going to put this underneath like I did on the other example. I'm just going to show you that I'm going to divide. So when I put it underneath, I was reducing. Well, dividing is the same as reducing. So I'm going to say 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then I'm going to divide the a3 and a3. And when you divide variables, you subtract their exponents. So 3 minus 3 would be a to the 0. A to the 0 means 1. So these are going to cancel out. Okay. Now do b to the 4, b. Well, 4 minus 1 is going to be 3. So b to the third. Z to the 3 and z to the 3 would cancel. It would be z to the 0. So this first term only has 2b to the third. We're going to do the same process again with the second term. So I have 2 divided by 2 is 1. Then I have a3 divided by a3 is also 1. Then I have b minus b is 1. And z to the fourth, z to the third would be z to the first. Okay? Now I know that this is not simplified because 1 times anything is itself, and z to the first exponent is z. Now what I want to do is I want to check it to be sure that I did it right. So I'm going to look at the book, but I'll show you how to check it. 2a3 bz to the third, 2b3 plus z. And I forgot a letter. What did I forget here? Okay, so this is telling me that I have an a as an exponent. Did I not copy those down right? A to the third. I did not. This was supposed to be a squared, which makes a difference. Okay, so then that means my greatest common factor is going to change because I did not see that. So this would change to a 2 because they only share 2 of them. And that means when I divided the first term, so this is going to be 4 divided by 2 is 2. 3 minus 2, I'm missing an a, is a. And then b4 minus b1 would be 3. And then those would be nothing. So 2ab to the 3 is the right part for that, for the first term. And then we'll do the second term. So this had 2 divided by 2 would be 1. And then a squared minus a squared would be, there's no a's. B to the first minus b to the first, there's no b's. And 4 minus 3 would be z. So my answer is 2ab to the third plus z. And now to check it. Let's distribute. 4 times 2, 4. Okay, here's my check. A squared plus a would be a to the third. B1, B3 would be B4. Okay, plus 2 times nothing, which 1 would be 2. A squared, B, and there's 4 z's, z to the fourth. Okay, now let's look. Do they match? 4a to the third, b4, 2 to the z to the third. Oh, I missed my z to the third on this term. Man, I'm just making all kinds of errors. There we go. 3. There we go. And then I had forgotten to distribute it. Okay, now I'm going to check the second term. Would be 2a squared b z to the fourth. And there you go. It checks out. So that is how you find the factor out the greatest common factor of an expression. The next portion is let's see, that's pretty much more of the same. So let's look at canceling. Okay, so the next video, this is part 3, is we're going to look at how to cancel a greatest common factor. Okay, so the first 2 videos covered how to factor, and the last one is going to be how to cancel. In the end, hopefully you will understand. Let's see, I can do one more of these examples in the next video, and then I'll show you how to cancel.